My name is Aaron McLeod, creative newsletter writing consultant for newslettermarketer.com. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's a tough town. It's where the Declaration of Independence was written. So a lot of famous people that come from Philadelphia. I grew up in a middle-class family, middle-class neighborhood. I was not a good student. I always had a good imagination and I wanted to learn, but I wanted to focus on the subjects that I wanted to focus on. My report card was split right down the middle. I always enjoyed English, writing, and speaking, A, B, A, but math and social studies and geometry and algebra, DF, FF, DF. It wasn't good at all. I always had a great imagination, creativity, putting things together, coming up with stories. That's what always drove me. When I was 5 years old, I actually built a museum in my house, and I would charge people a nickel to come by and check out my museum. My brain was always going like that, and I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs kind of share. It's hard for us to conform, and to get in line. We want to do our own thing and be successful. I always loved writing, and I thought I was going to grow up and become a screenwriter, write scripts and direct movies and things like that. I wrote a lot of stories in high school, and I was a good speaker in high school. I took a writing seminar class and things like that. My father is an entrepreneur as well. He's a real estate investor. He also does carpentry. And I learned so much from my father. When I was about 14 years old, my father woke me up one Saturday morning. He said, "Come on." And we went to his apartments, and I started to learn about real estate. He told me how to cut the grass first and keep the property clean. And then I moved up to sheetrock and compounding and plumbing and things like that. By the time I was 18 years old, I knew how to make repairs on an apartment or a house, change receptacles, do minor electrical work, fix ceiling fans, you name it. It was always on a Saturday morning. And this is a Saturday morning that changed my life. My father took me to his job at the Reading Terminal Market. It's one of the oldest farmer markets in the country. And Reading Terminal Market is also the #1 tourist attraction in Philadelphia. My father was the facilities director there. And he hired me on the cleaning crew. And there I learned about not only working hard, but also I learned so much entrepreneurship from all of the merchants and all the people who were small business owners there. They had generation after generation of families. And I was just there as a young man soaking up all of that good information and energy from all these good people. It was a really, really great time in my life. When I turned about 20, I got into real estate myself. I left the Reading Terminal, but I started following in my father's footsteps. I actually bought one of his houses. And many people say, why did you buy your father's house? Why didn't you just, why didn't he give you one? And it was funny, my father always taught by example, and he wanted me to go through the process of buying my own house. So he sold me one of my houses. And there's one thing I always learned from my dad was to build relationships. Throughout my dad's career in real estate, he just built solid relationships with everyone, his tenants, his bankers, his lawyers. Everybody liked him and they loved to do business with him. And it's something that I've held on to for all of my years in entrepreneurship as well. I've always enjoyed science and things like that. So when I was about 24, I started my own pest control service company. And my father was looking at me, he's like, man, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. He said, who is going to let you in their house? You of all people. He didn't really believe in a vision, but when you have a vision and you have a dream, there's nothing wrong with going for it. It's better to go for it than feel regret later on. So I went for it. In our third year, we made over $100,000. And my dad looked at me, he said, how did you pull that off? What did you do? And it was through having good relationships. I went back to the Reading terminal. Everyone I knew what I was doing. And I already had great relationship with them. And it just kept spreading and spreading and spreading. In the summer of 2008, my small pest control company was actually featured in the Wall Street Journal. And that really changed things. And my dad was so excited. Everybody was so excited. But with the good things also can come the trying things. When the real estate market crashed and the economy crashed in 2008, I lost over $90,000 in income. My truck got repossessed. I lost my business partners. And to top it all off, my mother, who was the office manager, was diagnosed with kidney disease. A few years later after that, she passed away. It was a difficult time. It was the hardest time in my life. In the book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says the only way that you fail at your endeavor is if you give up. So I didn't want to give up. So I started scrambling around to try to figure out, what can I do? How can I fix this? I'm reading books and attending seminars and talking to other entrepreneurs. And then I came across a book. It was written by a gentleman named Chet Rowland. And he had all these marketing techniques using letters. And I said to myself, I can do that. You know, I'm a writer. I'm one of the best writers around. So I wrote all of my clients, and I was honest with them, and I told them what was going on and how I was being affected by the economy. And you know what? The positive response that I got out of those letters was unbelievable. And you know what? This is how you know that there are good people in this world. You know, the media only reports the bad stuff. They only reports the division or the bad things, the hatred. But no, there are good people in this world. So many people wrote me back or called me and tried to support me. I even had somebody was trying to get me a car so I can continue in my business. Relationships, having great relationships, they work. So what I started doing is I started expanding the letters. I created a newsletter, and then I started sending that out to every person who I had a service with or had a contact with or an inspection or whatever. And then slowly people started coming back one by one by one. And I would critique the system. And I would ask, why did this work? Why did you respond to this letter? And people would tell me, and I would critique the system and critique the system. And I just kept building relationships with my newsletters. One day, a lady who was a customer, and she lived right around the corner from me, she came to my house. She had one of my newsletters in her hand, and she said, hey, you know what? I want you to sign this newsletter. And I said, sign the newsletter? Why? She said, this is the best newsletter I've ever read in my entire life. And she said, I want you to sign it. I said, really? I said, okay, I don't think nothing of it. So I signed the newsletter. Then a small time after that, another client, when I was over her house, said, you know what? I enjoy your newsletters. She said, they give me hope in a darkened world. I was like, wait a minute, this is getting kind of deep. So then not too long after that, I was speaking with a young lady, a friend, and her fiance was having problems with his lawn service company. And I asked him, do they have a newsletter? She said, no, what is that? So I went and I asked her a series of questions about her fiance's business. And I plugged the answers into the system that I created, and we sent those out to his clients. And the results were phenomenal. I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is completely awesome. But then there was another entrepreneur that came to me. He said, Aaron, he said, this is bigger than you. This is bigger than you. This is what you need to be doing. And I was sitting there thinking, I said, wait a minute, you're right. I was like, I'm a writer. I've always been good at building relationships. This is what I need to help other small entrepreneurs and business owners do. So in 2015, we bought the domain name Newsletter Marketer, and we created a blog there. And we wrote hundreds of articles and helped out hundreds of small businesses over the years. But now, Newsletter Marketer is needed more than ever. We have all felt this global crisis, this horrible thing that has changed all of our lives. It's been a difficult time for many. People have lost loved ones. People have died. People have different type of health effects after they have suffered from the illness. And people have hurt financially, losing jobs, losing small businesses. I spoke to a lady not too long ago who right here in Texas, she had a salon for over 30 years and the crisis wiped her out. She had to move out of her house and rent it out so she wouldn't lose it, to use the rent money to pay the mortgage. I asked her, is she going to start again? Is she going to start over? She said she doesn't know. In order for all of us to make it through this thing and to move on with our lives, we have to start to build relationships with individuals again. And that's what Newsletter Marketer is all about. Entrepreneurship, building relationships one step at a time. Using your newsletter to draw all of your clients, your audience, back to you. It doesn't matter if you're a new small business owner, you're a seasoned small business or entrepreneur, or if you're trying to recover from this crisis. Newsletter Marketer can help you. Stop by our free website. Check out all the videos and articles. Download the free book, Become a Newsletter Marketer. It will help you out tremendously. Thank you so much for stopping by. You know what? I'm going to get started on my newsletter, building relationships and helping clients.